Let's build Vaylantz. Uh-oh. Well, I'm moving, everyone. And welcome back to Let's Build, the show where I sit down with a archetype of cards I have never played before, and I do my best to learn it from scratch. I am Hardleg Joe, if you didn't know, joined as always by Twitch chat. Twitch chat, you want to say something valiant, something heroic for the people watching at home? Murder bad? Y'all ready to move? I'm scared for my life. They've got the spirit, but they're kind of weirdos. But you know what? They're my weirdos, and they're here on Twitch once again to help me learn Vaylantz, which is a pendulum archetype. Remember pendulums? They're back, baby, and they're, well, not better than ever. These actually haven't seen a whole lot of play since they've come out, so much so that I don't really know much about them other than the fact that they move around. They've got a movement and column mechanic. So we're gonna sit down, read over everything, and try to learn them. As always, I'd like to remind you that this is a blind deck building show, and as a result, I will not be making the best Vaylantz deck, or even necessarily a good Vaylantz deck. Instead, the focus of this show is teaching you how to build decks, going through the process of learning cards and figuring out if they're good, so that hopefully you can build decks on your own without relying on net decking quite so much. And if nothing else, if you don't feel like reading, well, I'll do that for you. You will come away from this knowing every Vaylantz card in Master Duel and what it does. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump. Oh yeah, and before I forget, this episode is brought to you by Patreon sponsor Cat Monarch, who graciously donated a rather high amount in order to have me look at this archetype. So I just want to both give thanks to them and also let you know that if you like this show, if you'd like to request episodes of it yourself, you can join the Patreon, link down in the description, patreon.com/hardleggaming. And you know, in addition to requesting episodes at the really high tiers, you could join for just $1 and then get on the Discord. Discord gets notifications when I go live. A lot of these people here, they're in the Discord. They're true Legos, as I call them. So consider checking that out. And without further ado, now let's jump into it. Alright, so as you know, on Let's Build, our philosophy when learning a new archetype is to always start with the field spell. Now previously, we had an archetype in Heroic Challengers that didn't have a field spell at all, and we had to deal with that. That, not too big of a problem. But here we've got something very unique. Vaylantz do indeed have a field spell. They have 2 of them. So which one to start with? Hard to say, hard to leg. Personally, I just like the big machine, so we'll start with this one. I don't think it really matters all that much. But yeah, we've got 2 of them. Vaylantz World Koing Wysen and Vaylantz World Shinra Bansho. I am probably massacring those names. I don't speak Japanese. I'll try my best though. But yeah, and they've got this weird theme. There's like a little like boxy thing going on that looks kind of like the field from different sides. Hard to say. I'm not exactly sure what the theme is here. All I know so far is that half of them are machines and half of them are spellcasters. So I guess machines and spellcasters teaming up to do stuff? Who can say? Anyway, let's go ahead. We'll start with this one. When this card is activated, place 1 Vaylantz field spell from your deck face up in your opponent's field zone, except for another copy of this field spell. If there are 2 cards in the field zones, the turn player can target 1 effect monster in the opponent's main monster zone in the same column as a monster they control, and place that opponent's monster face up as a continuous spell in their spell trap zone in the same column. If the zone is occupied, destroy the occupying card. The turn player can use this effect of Vaylantz World Koing Wysen once per turn. Yeah, so this is very interesting. I'm actually kind of familiar with this because I'm using this in Crystal Beast of all things. Basically, if you get 1 field spell, you can activate the other, and each one has an effect that the turn player can use. So you get to use the effect of both fields, but so does your opponent. And this one is kind of like removal. If your opponent has a monster in the main monster zone, and you have one in the same column, you can move their monster into the back row and have it be a continuous spell card, which is very strange. I don't think there's another form of removal like that in the game, although maybe we'll be seeing more of it. But that's very nice, just a little bit of removal, and it kind of tells you already that this is going to have like a column mechanic going on. Let's go ahead and look at the other field spell real quick. I'm assuming this is the spellcaster one, because it's got like, you know, all the cities and the volcanoes and nature-y kind of stuff. When this card is activated, place one Vaylantz field spell, except for this one. If there are 2 cards in the field zones, the turn player can target one monster in their own spell trap zone, special summon it to their own main monster zone in the same column, and you can only use this once per turn. So yeah, while the other one is removal, this one acts as extension. This one lets you summon your own monsters from the spell trap zone, while this lets you put your opponent's monsters in there. And as an added bonus, I didn't really recognize this at first, but if the zone is occupied, destroy the occupying card. So if they have a card like in front of their skill drain or their floodgate or whatever, you can move it back and it blows up the skill drain. So I already like this because I love anything that has to do with the columns. Yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh is kind of unique in how the column placement is important. So it's nice to see a deck that kind of actually goes with all that. Now, of course, the one thing that sucks about this is that both players get to use it. So even if you move a monster into their spell trap zone, next turn they can just summon this back out unless you have another field spell that you can like overlay it. So I'm not really sure if you play this at 3, or if you play like one of them at 3 and the other one at 1, or what the ratios are gonna be. Maybe 2 and 2? Hard to say for now. Actually, yeah, just for now, let's go ahead and do 2 and 2, because if you get any one of them, you get the other one. Maybe we'll run it at 3 once we look at stuff. Alright, so now that we've got the field spells, the next step is to look at the boss monster, see what we're building up to. And in this case, even though they do have some pretty high-level Vaylantz stuff, they also have a pair of fusion monsters we can look at. Both of them are level 10, one's a machine, one's a spellcaster. They do have a third fusion, but this isn't out in Master Duel yet, and as always, we're making a Master Duel legal deck. That's also why this spell isn't here. These two both aren't out in Master Duel yet. So we'll start with them, and I think we're going to start with the machine, just because I like machines more, and also it's only got one person. Although one neat thing you can do in Yu-Gi-Oh! Omega in particular, and I'm actually going to have to get rid of the chat here for a second. You can see over on the left-hand side that they've got the text for the card there. It's usually covered up. But if I go really quickly between the two of them, it kind of highlights what's changing. You can see the text and the pictures or whatever flipping back and forth. But one thing you can notice really easily is that the pendulum effect is not changing. These both have the same pendulum effect. And I find that especially when it comes to pendulum decks, or basically any deck that has a lot of effect text on it, one thing that you might want to look for is like key effects. Stuff that's the same for every card in the archetype. Like every Crystal Beast has the effect that it becomes a continuous spell card. And if you go up to these, you can see that all the low-level monsters, even though I flip through them, they all have the same pendulum effect. And so do, well, the top ones don't, but they seem to be kind of similar. There's like a couple fundamental differences. Probably, it looks like a once per turn, the name of the monster is changing, but they're fairly similar. So even though this has a lot of text, it can feel a little bit daunting. You can take at least a little solace in that, knowing that both pendulum effects are the same. And because of that, there's kind of a unifying theme among all the cards, right? Like, even though each one has their individual effects, the pendulums are what tie them together as an archetype. So when you're trying to decide where to start when learning these, or what's the important part of the text, that's where you want to begin. The thing that all of them do, because that's going to inform how the other effects relate to that. But anyway, Vaylantz Genesis Grand Duke. Level 10 Fire Machine Fusion Monster, 2500 attack, 2500 defense, and the pendulum effect is you can activate one of these effects. Special summon this card to your main monster zone in the same column, move one monster in the main monster zone to an adjacent horizontal monster zone. You can use this effect once per turn. So yeah, this is one of the few things that I know about the Vaylantz, is that they go in the pendulum zone and then they come out, and then they move to the left. They like slide. There's like a column mechanic. And it seems that the boss monsters are unique and that their pendulum effects let you do both. You can either summon one from the monster, from the spell trap zone, or you can move them to the left. Or I guess the right. As for their monster effect, you can make this with any 2 Vaylantz monsters. This face-down card in the extra deck must first be fusion summoned or special summoned by tributing 1 level 5 or higher non-fusion Vaylantz monster in the same column as the extra monster zone. If this card is special summoned, target 1 monster card in your opponent's spell trap zone, return it to the hand, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to its attack. Then, this card gains attack equal to half the damage inflicted. Alright, interesting. So it's got 2 effects there. One is a very interesting summoning condition. So basically you're trying to move things so that they're behind the extra monster zone, and then someone in chat was pointing out these are kind of chess themed. You're basically promoting the pawn into the duke, right? You take away a card and you move it forward 1 space. And then the other thing is an on-summon effect that lets you return a monster card in the spell trap zone to the hand and inflict damage and then gain that. So this has synergy with the other field spell. We were talking about how if you move a monster into the back row, that's cool and all, but they can just move it back. This helps you with that by returning it to the hand, so if it's like an extra deck monster, you know, goes back to the extra deck. But then you not only burn them, but you gain that damage. So depending on how the placement works, you can actually get quite a lot of damage in here with this. Okay, and then let's look at the other one. Momonka the Vaylantz United is a spellcaster, level 10, water, 2800 both ways, so slightly more attack. And actually, real quick, I noticed that they were machine and spellcasters. Are all the machines fire and all the spellcasters water? Alright, gotcha. So there's a fire and water thing going on. I'm fire and ice, baby. And I guess that kind of makes sense with this little symbolism here. You got the fire machines and the water spellcasters. There's some theming going on. Alright, I get it. The pendulum effect, same as before. They can move stuff out. They can move stuff to the left and right. Their summoning requirement takes 3 Vaylantz monsters. And actually, real quick, let's look back. So it doesn't say you have to summon it by that effect. So you can actually play like polymerization or something in this deck and fuse these with any 2 Vaylantz or any 3 Vaylantz. It's just that this one actually has an extra summoning condition that you can do, as long as it's face down in the extra deck. That's another thing I noticed. It's a pendulum monster, so when it's destroyed, it goes to the face up extra deck, and you can't summon it out that way. You'd have to like actually pendulum summon it. But anyway, let's go over the effect here. During the main phase, quick effect, you can target 1 effect monster in your opponent's main monster zone. Place that opponent's monster face up as a continuous spell in their spell trap zone in the same column. If the zone is occupied, destroy the occupying card. And if it's a monster card, your opponent loses life points equal to its attack. You can only use this effect once per turn. If this special summon card you control is destroyed by your opponent's card effect, you can place this card... Oh, does this have too much text to even fit in here? Is there a second page? Oh wow, I have to scroll down over here. Okay. If this special summon card is destroyed, you can place this in the pendulum zone. Does this not have that effect? No, it does not. Okay, so this lets you put it in the pendulum zone. I'm honestly not sure how you get this in the pendulum zone, unless your opponent moves it back there for you using the field spell. Alright, very interesting. So the other one had sort of an effect that worked in harmony with the spell, and this one just kind of is another copy of the spell. Has the same effect, making stuff into back row, destroying anything if it's already back there. The only real upside to this is the fact that if a monster is occupying that zone, your opponent loses life points equal to its attack points when it gets destroyed. Which is very interesting. I wonder how many cards there are that, like, don't inflict damage and don't make their life points become X. They lose life points. I don't think that accounts as effect damage, but I'm not actually sure. It's very strangely worded. This is also a quick effect, as chat is pointing out, which I kind of lost in the weeds of, like, reading all this text and trying to find out how to read all this text since it's so much. Oh, I can scroll down here too, that's neat. But yeah, that makes this more of like, if you're going first, you want to summon this because as a quick effect, it can get rid of a monster. Whereas this is more like, if you're going second, if you're attacking into a board, you want to use this. And at least so far, based on what we read, I feel like going second is the better option, just because it allows you to use the Kong Weissen. This is not very good on your first turn, and if you leave it up after the first turn, then your opponent gets to use it against you. Granted, if all you have is this and the extra monster zone, they can't use it on there, so, you know, kind of a trade-off either way. So from there, I think what we want to do is start looking at the pendulum monsters. And again, most of the pendulum effects are the same, so let's actually start with those. Let's read the pendulum effects for both types, starting with the lower level ones, because again, these are all exactly the same. So during the main phase, you can special summon this card to your main monster zone in its same column. Also, you cannot special summon non-Vaylantz monsters for the rest of this turn, except from the extra deck. You can only use this effect once per turn. Alright, very interesting. So this doesn't have any synergy with other, like, pendulum decks. You can't special summon other pendulums from your hand. But they did make sure that you can run something like Electromite or Beyond the Pendulum or other link monsters that allow the pendulums to, like, pendulum summon out. Although I'm not sure if you're actually pendulum summoning. Actually, yeah, I just looked at this. All of their scales are 1. I guess the fusions are 10, but you kind of want these on their field. The spell trap zones things aren't as effective, and this one only really has its effect, like, if it gets destroyed. I don't even know how you put this one in the spell trap zone. Very curious, very curious. Either way, it does at least give you, like, a good way to special summon a lot of monsters without special summoning. Because essentially you can place 2 of these in the pendulum zones and then immediately just move them forward onto the field. You get 2 monsters, you make Electromite, and then presumably you can put 2 more in there and keep marching them forward. As for the high-level ones, let's take a look at those real quick. If Vaylantz World Kong Weissen is in the field zone, or if you control a Fire Vaylantz monster, so another machine monster, you can special summon this card to your main monster zone in its same column. You can only use this effect once per turn. Okay, gotcha. And then the spellcasters is that if Vaylantz World, the other one, is on the field spell, or you control the water, you can special summon it. Okay. That's why they're different. They're essentially the same effect, where if they're in the pendulum zones, you can move them forward into the main monster zones, except you need to have a little setup first. The fire machines require you to have a low-level fire machine on the field, or the field spell, that's the fire machine one, and the spellcasters require you to have a spellcaster or the spellcaster field spell. Is it on the field? In a field spell zone. Okay, so it doesn't matter which one you put on your side, as long as they're both on the field, and getting any one of them will allow you to get the other one. So it's making it seem like these are actually critically important. And of course, this one lets you summon any of these even if you don't have another one, because this one just once per turn you could summon one out. Alright, so we've essentially got a whole archetype of pendulum monsters that can special summon themselves from the back row. The question is, what do they do when they do that? And in this case, I think because we're trying to find a way to get to these, we want to start with the lower level monsters. The high level monsters, I imagine, might have some effects of their own, something that makes them worth keeping on the field, but the low level ones are most likely going to further your game state. They're going to get you more monsters, they're going to set up your field, or set you up for one of these fusion summons. At least that's what I'm thinking. So let's go ahead and start with the lowest level one, Shinome, the Vaylantz Priestess. She's got that staff, wacha! So 500, 500, we already know the pendulum effect. During the main phase, if you control this special summoned card, you can add 1 Vaylantz spell from your deck to your hand. If this card in the monster zone moves to another monster zone, you can add 1 Vaylantz monster from your deck to your hand, except for itself. You can only use each effect once per turn, but you can use both effects in a single turn. So this is your searcher, and this is an instant 3 of. It searches the field spell, it searches their other spell, and if you move it, then it does something. We still haven't seen any effect that lets you move it, but I know they have the ability to do, well, I mean, we've seen the fusions do it, but I assume they have some other way to do it. I mean, how else would you get a monster behind the extra monster zone? You'd have to get them out and move them to the right first. While we're here, let's go ahead and take a little detour, because they only have one spell, and let's see what this one spell does. What can she search other than the field spell? So we've got Vaylantz Wars, the place of beginning. And I'm just now realizing what the theme actually is. This is like a tabletop war game. This is like Warhammer or something. You've got the spellcasters versus the machines. You buy the little figurines. Or maybe it's more like Skylanders? Is that what this is? You like plug in the one that you want and then you can do stuff with it? Very, very interesting. But they've got all these little models and everything. They've turned amiibos into an archetype. That's that's strange. Okay, but anyway, normal spell card. Add one Vaylantz field spell from your deck to your hand. Then you can apply the following effect. Destroy one pendulum monster card you control, and if you do, add Senate Switch from your deck to your hand. If this card is in your graveyard, except the turn it was sent there, you can banish this card, place one face-up Vaylantz pendulum monster from your extra deck in your pendulum zone. You can only use this effect once per turn. Interesting. So this is a very powerful card, but it's also something that I think you only want to activate once per duel, essentially, because you need to search a field spell. You don't want to get bricked on those. Although the fact that you can do that makes it seem like, yeah, maybe we just need one of each, because this automatically searches one of these. One of these gets you both. Maybe you have to win the game early, but that's not unusual, especially for a pendulum deck. And then it searches Senate Switch. Let's go ahead. Look up Senate Switch. A card as old as time. Continuous spell. Once per turn, you can target a monster in your main monster zone. Choose one of its unused adjacent horizontal monster zones. Move the target into that zone. So there you go. That gets you the ability to move stuff. And that makes this, I think, even more critical than anything. Because this is the most one-card starter I've ever seen. Place it in the pendulum zone. Summon it. Search the place of beginning. Activate this. Searches out the field spell and Senate Switch. Use Senate Switch to move her to the right, and then search out a monster that you can then use to make Electromite or whatever. Absolutely nutty. We're gonna play at least one. Someone in chat is saying we need 3 of that, and I don't think so. This is not something that seems super great. Maybe if like getting to her is super difficult, but we'll see, we'll see. Let's go ahead and look over the rest of our monsters, see what we do. Vaylantz Buster Baron. We've got our first of the machines. If you control this special summoned card, you can target one other Vaylantz monster in your main monster zone. Move that monster you control to an adjacent horizontal monster zone. If this card in the monster zone moves to another monster zone, you can target one card in either player's pendulum, place it face up in its adjacent spell trap zone as a continuous spell. Interesting. So it can move one thing when it's special summoned. So I guess that's how you move this to the right without having to necessarily use Senate Switch. And then when it moves, let's see, can it target itself? No, it's one other. So it targets another one. And when it moves, you can summon one from your spell trap zone as a continuous spell. Which is weird because they all already do that, right? Yeah, I guess this allows you to summon any card from either player's pendulum, but you're already stuck into, like, if you've summoned this through any through its own means, you can't summon any other like non-Vaylantz pendulum monsters. Seems very weird. Let's go ahead and go back to the Vaylantz. I think for now we'll play it at 3, and it'll be very tentative. If there's more stuff that moves us to the left, maybe we won't have to play this at 3. But for now, just because it moves stuff and that seems to trigger everything else, we probably want to play that at 3. Oh, I just realized I misread this. This doesn't summon monsters from the pendulum zone. This moves pendulums into the adjacent spell trap zones. So I guess you can move them in the back row before moving them forward with, I guess, presumably the field spell or whatever. Very interesting. And I guess when they're not in the pendulum zone, they don't have their pendulum effects. Very complicated. Very, very interesting. Still probably a 3 of, but we'll see. Scion, the Vaylantz Archer. 1100 attack, 1100 defense. Do they all have the same attack as defense? Yeah, they're all the same both ways. Okay, good to know. I can just tell you their attack and we don't have to tell you the rest. If you control this special summoned card, you can target one effect monster on the field, toss a coin, and if the results are heads, negate its effects. If the results are tails, have its attack. If this card in the monster zone moves to another monster zone, you can target one card on the field, toss a coin, heads destroy it, tails return it to the hand. Tossing coin effects, not what you want to see. Granted, I will give them this. At the very least, it's an effect that, like, you know, either way you get something good. It's not like heads I win, tails you win. It's either way something bad's happening, but I don't like the fact that you can't decide what thing you're doing. You know, sometimes you either want to have its attack or negate its effects, and you don't want to wait on a coin toss. It's nice that it's removal either way, but when your opponent has a monster that can't be destroyed, it sucks that you're like, please tails, please tails, please tails. It's still removal, so I'm gonna put this in like the side deck. We're gonna have this as a strong maybe. Maybe we'll play more of these. I don't know. We might need it just because there's not a whole lot of them, but not looking forward to having to toss coins. Next up, Vaylantz Voltage Viscount. Going for all those V's there. During the main phase, if you control this special summoned card, place one face-up Vaylantz Pendulum monster from your extra deck face up in the spell trap zone as a continuous spell. If this card in the monster zone moves to another monster zone, you can place one Vaylantz Pendulum monster from your extra deck in your pendulum zone. You can only use each effect once per turn. Alright, so this is how you get... Oh wait, it's any pendulum monster. So I guess this is how you get these. Like if you blow them up, this allows you to either summon them or put them into the spell trap zones as you want. But it can also be used on the other ones. Kind of a good recovery card. I'm going to say again, it's a one of because it seems like something that you're only going to do later on. Although I guess your combo with Priestess does destroy one. Alright, Vaylantz Mad Marquis. Level 6, only 1700 attack. Pretty bad stats, although I guess you special summon it, so it doesn't really matter. During your main phase, you can roll a 6-sided die. My disappointment is immeasurable. Excavate that many cards from the top of your deck, or as many as you can, and if you do, you can add one excavated Vaylantz card to your hand. Also shuffle the rest into the deck. If this card is in the monster zone and it moves to another monster zone, roll a dice, and if you roll 2, 3, 4, or 5, special summon one monster card from your spell trap zone to your main monster zone in the same column. Alright, so the first one's not as bad as I thought, because it at least is like, you get an effect either way, right? It's just how far can you dig? You get to basically Pot of Duality for 1 to 6, depending on what you roll. And even a 1 is still like, you'd probably play it just because if you play a lot of Vaylantz, there's a chance you get something good. The second one is exactly what I'm talking about, where it's like, you roll a dice, and if you get on 1 on 6, fuck you. You don't get anything. You lose, sir. Not the most great. Still, I think for that first thing alone, we're probably going to play this at 3. And we might bump some of these other ones up as well, because this is making the pure Vaylantz deck seem a lot more viable. The more Vaylantz you have in here, the more chance you have to roll a dice and get one on the 1. But we'll see. We'll see. Another interesting thing someone pointed out before we go any further. This can summon a monster card, any monster card that's in your spell trap zone. Doesn't have to be a Vaylantz. And unlike the low-level Vaylantz, these don't necessarily lock you into the into only Vaylantz cards. Most of these don't gain their effects when they're normal summoned, even though you can normal summon them. But if you normal summon them, then like, hey, now you have a fire Vaylantz monster on the field, you can do this. So there is some potential for using stuff like the Amorphages to just lock your opponent out of special summoning. But you would have to be very tricky to do that, and I don't know if I'm a good enough pendulum master or just good enough on this show in general to really lab out stuff like that. But there is potential. This deck has a lot of little quirks that are ripe, like little loopholes that you can make advantage of. Alright, the next level 6, Nezuki, the Vaylantz Ninja, 1800 attack on a level 6. At least 1800's like a respectable stat line. Not on a level 6. You can target one other monster in the main monster zone, move it to an adjacent horizontal zone. If this card in the monster zone moves, you can target one Vaylantz in your spell trap zone, special summon it in its same column. Alright, very basic, it does the things, it's basically what these do, just on summon. Might as well put it at 3, you know, just fill up on the level 6s. They're decent overall. Oh, and as someone is pointing out, this is move any monster in the main monster zone to an adjacent one. So not only can you move your own stuff going first, but if you have a going second build, or just if your opponent has stuff on the field in general, you can move this to adjacent zones so that you can do what I mentioned earlier, move them into the back row and destroy their back row in the process. So pretty neat. Horizontal, yeah, you move it horizontal and then you use the field spell to move it vertical. All right, moving on to the level 8, Hojo, the Vaylantz Warrior, which for being a water type, there's an awful lot of fire around here. Big fiery man. So you can target one face-up card in either spell trap zone, return it to the hand. If this card in the monster zone moves to another monster zone, except during the damage step, is there a way to move monsters in the damage step? I don't think there's a single card I know of that does that. You can fusion summon one Vaylantz from your extra deck using monsters from your hand, field, or pendulum zones. Alright, pretty good. Only 1900, so again, they really want you to rely on these things and like removing stuff to get that damage in. You don't have a whole lot of high damage things. But this can take any card in the spell trap zone, return it to the hand. So if you've moved a monster back there, that gets rid of it. If they just have spell traps in general, this is a great way to get rid of them. And then it lets you fusion summon. So even if you can't move all the things in the way, you don't have to play polymerization. If you just get a bunch, you can do this. We'll go ahead and put this at 3 as well. Finally, we got Vaylantz Dominator Duke, level 8, 2000. You can target one set card in the spell trap zone. That set card cannot be activated this turn, even if this card leaves the field. If this card in the monster zone moves to another monster zone, you can target one face-up monster in the opponent's main monster zone, take control of it, but it cannot declare an attack nor activate its effects. Also, it's treated as a Vaylantz monster. You can only use this once per turn. Alright, I was kind of like meh on that first one, like, okay, it shuts down back row, but by the time this gets summoned, they've usually already activated that. But that second effect is a house, especially for the go second version of this. They take a monster, it's not even until the end of the turn, you just get to keep it, and it's treated as a Vaylantz, which means, you know, because these let you fusion summon, you can fusion summon away your opponent's monsters. Just get rid of them forever. That, along with the fact that it's a 2000 attacker, means I think I'm just going to put it at 3. We're just going to have 3 ofs. And yeah, let's go ahead. Let's just play everything at 3. It's very boring, but that's kind of how pendulum decks are. You kind of need like all your stuff that you want to do. You need as many pendulums as you can. Granted, we're not setting scales in this version, but I do really feel like just you can't go wrong with having as many Vaylantz as possible. Just all the Vaylantz all the time. Critical mass of extenders, as someone is saying in chat. Also, chat said earlier that the field spells, because you need to activate the other one in order to activate one, they can kind of become like garnets for themselves. If you draw both of them, you can't use either of them. So it's good to go ahead and put 2 in, just in case. Plus you have a little backup as well. And that leaves us with a nice 30 card deck with 10 cards in the extra deck. And from there, I think the win condition is pretty clear, at least to me. This seems like a go second deck. You've got a lot of stuff that works when your opponent has monsters on the field. You can move them into the back row, you can bounce them back to the hand, negate them, have their attack. You've got special summons and extenders out the wazoo, stealing things, fusing with them. Just seems very neat overall. The problem, of course, is how do you play into your opponent's board of all the things? How do you get past everything? And for that, it's all about just picking the right tech cards, baby. We just gotta make sure we get the right tech cards in here. And I think something that works really well for this is Dark Ruler No More. This doesn't seem like an OTK deck. I mean, it maybe has the potential, but all of the attack values are really low. They cap out at 2,000. Even the 3 material boss monster is 2,800. So I think this seems like a deck where you can really just go in and be like, ah, that's a nice sprite field you have, negate everything, and then start doing everything with this. Moving stuff around, getting everything, just having all that. It also seems like you don't really need your normal summon at all, really. Pretty much every card can be special summoned out of the back row. So something like Sphere Mode seems like it would be really good. Although this can't be targeted, I believe. Yeah, your opponent can't target this for attacks or with card effects. So I think the better thing might actually be Lava Golem. I think I'm gonna go with Lava Golem. That seems like a much better version. Granted, its attack is higher than any of our monsters, but we have a lot of ways to move it in the back row. We have a lot of ways to steal it. It's a pity that these don't have any Ixies, because a nice level 8 Ixie that takes like two Vaylantz monsters would be really neat, because you could summon the Lava Golem and then steal it back and do stuff. But we'll see, we'll see. Alright, so after thinking about it for a little while longer, the obvious choice is to just put in the Max C tax. Max C plus Ash plus Called By. Those are, you pretty much want to play this in every deck, and this is no exception. The more extenders you get, the better you are. That being said, I don't want every episode of Let's Build to just be the Max C tax the game, even if that's what the actual game is for some reason. Hashtag ban Max C. So instead, we're going to do something a little bit spicy. We're going to play Harpy's Feather Duster, the 1 Change of Heart, and the 2 Raigeki, since this is at 2 now, and just have some board clears. And some people have pointed out you don't really want Raigeki because you don't want to clear their board. You want to steal their monsters, move them into the back row, get more value off of them. And that's the thing about Raigeki in this day and age. Yeah, if you open with Raigeki Dark Ruler, you can just wipe out everything. But more likely than not, what's going to end up happening is that you'll open with a bunch of Vaylantz and Raigeki, and if your opponent has like 2 Omni Negates, you activate the Raigeki and it's a must negate. This is not necessary. This is not going to blow up the board most of the time. This is going to threaten to blow up the board so that you bait out a negate. Then you bait out the second negate with something else, and then you can combo off. That's what these are meant to do. They're just here. I mean, these are here to clear the board, and these are here to bait out negates. And granted, you could play just about anything. Maybe Infinite Impermanence is a better option. Maybe Forbidden Droplet even. I mean, you don't really want stuff in the graveyard. I mean, the fact that we don't use the graveyard in the slightest means you could probably play something like Dimension Shifter in the main deck. I mean, it does screw up some of your things. You do need to blow up a card to get your Senate switch. But the fact that, like, you don't really need the graveyard and you don't mind if your cards get banished means you can Dimension Shifter on the first turn and you'll be at a huge advantage over something like, I don't know, Tearlament? This might have a pretty good Tearlament match. Same thing if you wanted to run something like Necro Valley in here as like an anti-meta tech, you certainly could. Oh, Shifter's at 2. Well, fine, we'll put it at 2 then. A lot of people are also saying DD Crow, a good side deck in Tearlament format. Could be. At the time of recording, I haven't played in it yet. The cards come out, I believe, later tonight. All that leaves, then, is the extra deck. And I think there's one card that everyone knows needs to be in here because it's legal in Master Duel. And why wouldn't you play it in a Pendulum deck? You gotta get your heavy metal foes Electromite. This is like the patron saint of Pendulum monsters. Just very good. And you've also got to get Beyond the Pendulum, which is like Electromite at home. I've actually never read this card, so you know what? Let's take a moment to look over this real quick. It's 2 effect monsters, including a pendulum monster. It's got arrows that point bottom left, bottom right. If this card is link summoned in the extra monster zone, pay 1200, add a pendulum from your deck to the hand. But for the rest of this turn, unless you pendulum summon after this effect resolves, you cannot activate monster effects, and the effects of any cards in your pendulum zones are negated. If 2 monsters with different levels are pendulum summoned at the same time to zones this card points to, you can target 2 cards on the field, destroy them. Alright, so this is really good for pendulums, and awful for this deck, because we can't pendulum summon. We don't really have any way to pendulum summon with what we have here. Everything is a 1 scale. Which, I mean, I guess is good for people who want to build... I mean, I guess you can use the 10 scales, the fusions, but I don't think you necessarily want to or need to. Maybe we can add in some other techs, but I'm not a pendulum expert. I don't know what other pendulum staples there are. I have seen this mixed with other stuff, but again, the point of this show is to learn the archetype and what it can do on its own, not necessarily the best build of it. Once you do that, then you could go look up like a deck profile for the best build, which probably includes a whole bunch of other stuff. So other than that, I'm not really sure what else we put in here. We've got some level 2s, some level 4s, some 6s, some 8s, and I remembered it wrongly. You can special summon non-Vaylantz, but only out of the extra deck. So the idea of getting an 8 and stealing the lava golem and then overlaying is actually still possible. So I'm just probably going to look over like the level 2s, the level 4s, all the different ixies and links we can make, and just put a toolbox of generic stuff. We'll see what I come up with real quick. Okie dokie, so after looking through everything and making some executive decisions, here's what we ended up coming up with. We got the Nightmare package, Phoenix, Unicorn, going into access code. So we've got a link-based way that we can OTK. We've got a Blackluster Soldier, Soldier of Chaos, pretty decent going second card that can also be difficult to get rid of, made with any of your high-level monsters, which we've got like 6 of. If we get 2 level 8s on the field, we can make, not that one, Draglubion. Draglubion OTK with the Numeron Dragon if there's just like an open field. You can also make Titanic Galaxy if you're going to pass over. You got Baguska, just in case you go first, go ahead and make Plan B. Always nice to rely on that. And then we've got a couple targets for like making Zeus, essentially. Heartland Draco's a rank 4 that can attack directly, so you can attack in, make Zeus in main phase 2. Sky Century is a rank 2 that doesn't take any damage, isn't destroyed when it's attacked, so you can attack into anything. You get to bounce it back too after you attack, and then you make Zeus. Daigusto Phoenix, probably the most sus inclusion on here, but I can imagine a thing where, like, if all they had was 2 monsters and you lava golemed and then you moved it in the back row or stole it or whatever, being able to turn 2 of your low attack level 2s into a 1500 that can attack twice, essentially 3000 damage, could allow you potentially to go for the OTK. So again, not the best version, as chat is telling me. A lot of them are like, Vaylantz is very much a go first deck. It doesn't have the tools here for going first. If there are tools that it can use, they're in like generic pendulum stuff that I don't know. And again, we're just trying to formulate this. I still think we're going to do pretty good. So because we're making a go second deck, we need to test it against established boards. So let's take this against some viewers, do a couple duels, and see what we can determine about this build.
Two hours later.
Alright, it took forever, but now it's my turn. That's a nice field you have built there. Be a shame if someone were to lava golem it. Okay. The question is, do I remember what to do from here? I think we're always starting with this, right? Yeah. We can't normal summon anyway. I was like, where's the option to do stuff? Okay. So we put this here. We summon it. I guess in defense mode. I thought this did something when it was summoned. During the main phase, if you control this. Okay, if I control it. Okay. We can add 1 spell trap from our deck to our hand. All right, and we want to go for the place of beginnings. So then we activate the place of beginnings. It's time to begin, isn't it? We get a little bit bigger, and then I'll admit I'm not the same as I was. Don't make me Oh, we got ashed. So we go for this one. Hello there, it's me. And because we control a spellcaster, we can summon it. Right here. And then its effects, and either player's main monster use it. Okay, so I can move that around. I can move this stuff around, but I don't think that really helps. Since we got stopped there, what we really need to do is just make Electromite. Oh, and I forget what this does. Add one pendulum from your deck to your face-up extra deck. All right, let's do that. What's the one that steals again? It's this guy, right? Yeah. We'll add that one to our face-up extra deck. Yeah, because we can activate this. We can activate the effect. Move this forward. We can use this. Get the one from our extra deck and put it here. How come I can't summon this? Put in your spell trap. Oh, it's because it's treated as a continuous spell trap? But it doesn't get its pendulum effect because it's not being treated as a pendulum monster. Okay, so in this case, we just use this. We blow this up since it's not doing anything. Oh, and then we can add it to our hand. And then because one was destroyed, we can draw a card. Or not, I guess. But it's fine. Now we can place this in the spell trap zone. We can move this forward. We can... Oh, this has to be moved. If it's moved to an adjacent thing, then we can do it. It's not moved to an adjacent thing, so we're in a little bit of a sticky wicket. Okay, so I think from here what we do is we just make BLS big. Not optimal, but we can beat over the lava golem. And then we can gain 1500. And we can't be targeted, so I am uncertain if my opponent has any significant way to deal with this. Can you out 4500 untargetable beast? Oh, they have kaijus. And now I have a Gamma Seal in the Spell Trap Zone. Okay, so let's Raigeki this. Get that out of there. Then we can use this. Okay, so we put this one here. We then activate its effect to summon itself. Now that it's here, we can place one in our pendulum zone, and we want to go... Oh wait, oh wait, both field spells are there. So we can put this here. Alright. Special summon this. So then we get this, we move this to the right. We activate the effect. Place one Vaylantz pendulum in your pendulum zone. Okay, it just places it in the pendulum zone. It doesn't... Again, it doesn't treat... That's so weird. I guess we still put this, though, because maybe we can move it next turn. Oh, no, it does still work. Weird. Go ahead and search one of the field spells so we have it for next time. We just go to battle, then. Get in for some damage. And then... We're going to take these two, make Unicorn, or that. We'll destroy that. Then we'll make Unicorn, and we'll spin away that. And there we go. All right. And from here, I think we just win, right? Because we activate this. That allows us to put this in the other zone. We can now activate the Shinra. We're going to move Gamma Seal up here. I guess we might as well just do this while we're at it. Summon this one up here. Roll a 6-sided dice. Add a Vaylantz. Sure. I'll add this one. And then, we're just gonna make access code talker. We're just gonna go in for access code. It's been a long and difficult duel, but we found a way. So we activate this, we banish the Phoenix, pop you, activate this, banish the BLS, pop you, battle phase, and there we go. You know, it may have been my first duel against, with Vaylantz, against Vaylantz, but clearly, you know, my deck wins the mirror match, and it has nothing to do with the fact that I top-decked, Lava Golem on the first turn.
Approximately 10 hours later.
Once again, Lava Golem proving to be a key ally in the fight against Jank. Da 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 doodle 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 doo. What can I do from here? Let's go ahead and put out the archer. Hello there. It's me. Time marches forward. I could have its attack or negate its effects. I don't think I need to do or want to do either of those. So we put Hojo. Hojo says, hello, Joe. You can target one face-up card in either player's spell trap zone. Unfortunate. Let's just go ahead and make this, shall we? Hello there. And then we get to add a monster to the extra deck. Well, hello there. Then we put this here. We march it forward. We activate the effect. We put this here. Activate, pop, add it to our hand. I still don't get to draw. I don't know why. Summon this forward. Activate the effect. Get me a new place of beginnings. Let us begin. Give me that field spell. Give me back that fieldy spell. Give me that spell. Destroy one pendulum and then add. Yeah. I think we want to destroy this one. Yeah, we get that. Because then we can play this. We can move her aside. Doing that will trigger the effect so that we can get the Duke. There he is, Sir Duke. Let's go ahead and activate the field spell, which will let me activate the field spell. We put Sir Duke here. We can summon him out. What does this do? Target one set card. It can't be activated this turn. Okay, let's make sure. Then we activate Change of Heart and we steal the Lava Golem back. Then we use the Lava Golem to make Draglubion. This is the most roundabout Draglubion in the history of Draglubions. Let's summon, special summon this, attach this, activate the effect, 9,000, and there you go, chat. There's your Vaylantz OTK. It's a simple, easy 12-point combo, and all you need is 3 Vaylantz cards, Lava Golem, and Change of Heart, you know? Look, we didn't even have to use that Raigeki. That was just there. Alright, I didn't open with a lot. Hopefully they don't do their whole combo and I draw it for the 6th card. Alright, we've got some stuff. We've got some things. We did not open with Lava Golem for the first time in a million years. We do still have this though. So that turns off this, but it prevents us from OTKing this turn. They cannot, will not, shall not be OTK'd from this earth. What do we got here? We can activate the Buster Baron. Bustin' makes me feel good. We move it. I like to move it, move it. Then we get the Duke. Yeah, get the Duke. Duke says hello. Duke moves on forward. In this archetype, everyone is Move Man. Ooh, they've got something. Some kind of trap they can activate, perhaps. Tribute my monster, steal my monster. I'm not liking that. I'm not liking that at all. I wanted to do other stuff. Okay, so we can activate this one. We're full of extenders, chat. We're gonna extend out the wazoo. Place 1 Vaylantz pendulum from your extra deck in a continuous spell. But they don't treat them as pendulums is the weird thing. So I think I actually just lose from here. So, okay, wait. I think we might still be able to do this. So we can normal summon the ninja. We can activate Senate Switch. We can move the ninja to the right. That activates its effect, which moves this into the monster zone. And once again, we go into Electromite, and we hope that Electromite can bail us out of here somehow. I am not quite sure it can, but we will see. Yeah, we need this one. Okay, so we can blow up the Senate Switch, which sucks, but we can only use it once anyway, and then we get her. So any 2 cards gets us to Electromite, gets us to this. Activate, summon her out. That gets us... Oh, don't tell me you have Ash too. Oh, they have the thing in the graveyard. Ripperoni, the San Francisco treat. You know, chat. Sometimes you gamble, and sometimes you lose. Unfortunately, that's the thing is that, like, we have the Dark Ruler no more against a field where what we probably needed was Spell Trap removal. Not the most popular thing to run into, but if you do run into it, you're gonna have a bad time. Especially when they can tribute you off to steal your dude. I didn't want my dude to be stolen. I was hoping for more stuff. Alright, you got it. Alright, and there we go. I think that showed off kind of the strengths and the weaknesses of this deck. What can you expect going in, and kind of what the problems that it has. It's definitely, it worked. It worked at least a couple of times. You know, you've got the tools here. The fact that it locks you out of Vaylantz except the extra deck gives this so much potential, especially with how many different levels and ranks and everything. The fact that you don't use your normal summon not only lets you use Lava Golem, but I could easily see you throwing in like a Skullcrabat Joker if you wanted to mix this with other Pendulum stuff. You could throw in tuners if you wanted to make like Synchro Vaylantz. There's a lot of potential for this, although the fact that it still locks you into Vaylantz at all makes it a little bit difficult. And these definitely aren't the best, like, back row, the best tech cards. These probably aren't good ratios either. But hopefully you at least got an understanding of Vaylantz, a better understanding than you did before. I know that personally, at least like now that I've faced them, I kind of know what their key playmakers are, their key starters, where the choke points are, so that if I at least face them, I kind of know better how to fight them. And of course, they got some new support going in. I didn't really go over it, it's not down here now, but again, they have another fusion monster, and they have another spell, which I didn't really look at. Actually, while we're here at the end, let's read one more spell real quick and see if this is really all that good. Vaylantz Wakening Solo Activation. Place one Vaylantz pendulum from your deck into the pendulum zone. If a card is in the field zone, you can banish this card from the graveyard, target a Vaylantz in your main monster zone, move it to an adjacent. Okay, wow. So they really just did give this like a second search spell that also moves everything horizontal so you can trigger it. Very good. Instant 3 of, yeah. That, and I don't want to read all this. This is just like a whole bunch of stuff. But needless to say, they have more support, so maybe one day we'll see Vaylantz in the future, probably mixed with something else. If nothing else, it was nice to just get to learn another archetype, see what they do. These are really neat. I do like the, marching forward and moving left and right mechanics. It's a bit clunky, it doesn't work as well as I would like, but it does still do some things. So thanks again to Cat Monarch for suggesting it. Thanks to all of you for watching. Thanks to all the patrons. Thanks to, I don't know, Gutenberg for inventing the printing press, without which mass media and mass communication would not be possible, and the internet would probably not exist today. Yeah, we're going deep with this one. You're getting a history lesson. That's what you can expect when you tune in to the very end. Anyway, thank you again, chat, for tuning in, and until next time, good luck and have fun.